Right, it's now official. A pair of 49ers updates this offseason have been in two different Game of Thrones filming locations. DUBROVNIK, as Americans would say it, or DUBROVNIK, if we're going to pronounce it correctly. Let's walk up to the wall over there and talk about Malik Mustapha and potentially really good news for the 49ers. Malik Mustapha, the first 49ers player to be seen working out on the new natural grass. It used to be artificial turf at the 49ers practice facility. Now it is natural grass ready for training camp. That had been closed, still growing during OTAs. Anyway, speaking of really cool venues, here in Dubrovnik, you can see that's an archer's window up there. We got to get to the top of this wall. Why do we need to get to the top of it? Well, because if we get to the top of this city fortification, we are going to have a very, very nice view of the Adriatic Sea. So I think that's what it is all about. And you know, we also speak of really cool sporting venues. How about a nice little soccer field? I guess it's not a field. This is a little bit harder even than artificial turf. It definitely is not natural grass here in Croatia, but a little mini soccer goal behind me, and it is a full, I guess they call it a pitch in soccer language, right? If you spin it around this way, here is the other goal. So you've got to be creative with how you use some of your space here. One goal, other goal behind me. While we're on this topic, the 49ers have purchased majority stake in Rangers FC and Scottish football team, not an American football team, a soccer team. Anyway, let's do some quick math. Malik Mustapha injured on January 5th. It was the 49ers season finale. They say that ACL tears, you can recover from them if you're an elite athlete and you're on the fast end of the recovery spectrum in 9 months. January 5th plus 9 months would be before the 49ers' next regular season game or next game that counts, and that obviously is the season opener of the 2025 season. So I think that there is some indication that Malik Mustapha is ahead of schedule right now. I mean, we could even go back to his mom posting on social media a couple months ago, right around the time of the NFL draft when we first publicly learned of the injury. She was talking about Malik could be back sooner. She was inferring that he would be back sooner. So I think that it would not be smart to rule Malik Mustapha out at the start of the season, but 9 months is the fast end of the recovery timeline. I've got some bad news. We're not going to make it up to the walls tonight here in Dubrovnik because they close at 7:30 and it's like 7:35. So we're going to go up the walls tomorrow during the day. It's going to be sunny. We're going to get to see all of this fortress city, but it's not going to stop me from doing the 49ers update right now. The ACL update. We're going through all the guys with ACL tears. I think there's a chance that Malik Mustapha is back for this team at the start of the regular season, although I wouldn't put it at 100%. Maybe I don't even put it at 50%, but I do think that the video that we just saw indicates that there's a better chance for Malik Mustapha than for other players. Brandon Aiyuk is one of the 49ers' other players who has a torn ACL. Aiyuk was more than just an ACL tear. He also tore his MCL, so this wasn't clean for Brandon Aiyuk, and that means that there is a strong likelihood that his recovery is going to take longer than Malik Mustapha's, and I think that that actually is congruent with some of the clues that we've gotten so far. We haven't seen Brandon Aiyuk doing anything remotely close to what Malik Mustapha is currently doing on the football field or on the practice field for the 49ers. So in Aiyuk's case, you would think that the PUP list for the start of the season is the more likely result. And you know, the PUP list, there are two separate PUP lists, as I think I found the port. So I've gotten outside the walls, which is good news. There are the walls. Dinner. We're going to get a view of the water. We're going to get on the walls tomorrow, so at least I can half deliver on the initial promise. But the PUP list, there are two PUP lists. There's one for training camp, and that one is for players who were hurt the season before or during the offseason. They begin on the PUP list, and then they could be removed from it. But once you're removed from it, you can't go back to the PUP list in that season. So I think that's obviously where Brandon Aiyuk and probably even Malik Mustapha will start. But then there's the regular season PUP list. And if you don't get removed from the PUP list over the entire course of over the entire course of training camp and the preseason, you can be transferred to the regular season PUP list. And then if you're on that one, week 1, you've got to stay on there for at least 4 weeks. So I think for Brandon Aiyuk, the quickest, if that ends up all coming to fruition, the quickest return you would see would be week 5 for Brandon Aiyuk. And if Malik Mustapha isn't back throughout all of preseason and training camp and then preseason, well, then you could probably put him in the same boat, which would be PUP extending to the regular season, which would also be a week 5 return for Malik Mustapha. A couple other ACL guys that the 49ers have on this team. Curtis Robinson, who was spotted at the Valkyries game the other day, the new WNBA franchise in San Francisco. Curtis was there. Malik Mustapha was actually there too. They didn't give Malik Mustapha any scoreboard love, which didn't make any sense because I think he's the most prominent 49ers player who was at this game. So they've got to do a better job at Chase Center with which 49ers they're spotlighting on the scoreboard. But Curtis, don't forget about him. He had an absolutely awesome training camp last year. Then he tore his ACL, so that was brutal. By the way, Curtis Robinson, Stanford product. Christian McCaffrey, also Stanford product. The way that I'm dodging crowds here and kind of finding my way through, I think is evocative of Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy, when he's running really well. Just want to point out that these video skills, as I've gone through Europe, have gotten better and better and better. But Curtis Robinson was playing such good football last training camp. Then he tore his ACL. Now, obviously, he's back at the Valkyries game, and I think that his recovery is going well. John Lynch was talking about Curtis Robinson looking good in the rehab room and going through all of the exercises over the course of this off season. So look out for Curtis to be back sooner rather than later, considering the fact that he tore his ACL at such an early point of the 2024 campaign. Should actually give him a leg up when you talk about timing here for 2025. And there's one more. It's the rookie, the quarterback out of Indiana, Curtis Rourke. He actually played his final college season on a torn ACL. The 49ers believe this showed his toughness, which they obviously really appreciate. So Curtis Rourke, after that season for Indiana, went ahead and had the surgery to repair the torn ACL. So he's already proven that he can play a D1 college season with a torn ACL, and now Curtis Rourke is having that injury addressed before he participates in a 49ers practice. That leads to, okay, what's his timetable? Because he was in the college football playoff. That's how good of a quarterback Curtis Rourke was for the Indiana Hoosiers. This is how good of a sunset it is here in Croatia. Look at the sunset right behind that bell tower. Just awesome. Promised you guys that we'd get to a good spot. Maybe not to the walls quite yet, but tomorrow. I promise we'll get there. But Rourke with a January surgery, he's going to be, unless he's recovering as quickly as Malik Mustapha, might not be fully realistic for Curtis Rourke to be ready for early 2025. And that's when you start talking about a potential redshirt year for Curtis Rourke. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. You've got Brock Purdy on the team. Skala, by the way, I believe in Croatian, that's the name of that boat. I believe that means cliff, because in Czech it means cliff, and Croatian and Czech are very similar. But in the case of Curtis Rourke, you've got Brock Purdy, you have Mac Jones, you have Tanner Mordecai. That's 3 quarterbacks. So Rourke right now would be the 4th, and if he's recovering from an ACL tear, why rush things if you're the 49ers? Why not just let this guy redshirt this season, put him on injured reserve? It's a move that comes with some real contractual benefits for the 49ers as well, because when you draft a player, when you use one of those picks, you get 4 years of team control. So especially for a quarterback, those 4 years of team control can be particularly valuable. And I think that's the 49ers knew that, but it was doubled down to them through the entire success with Brock Purdy. And now, in the case of Curtis Rourke, well, you don't want to lose that team control. If you cut him and sign him to the practice squad, you do, because you terminate the contract. So you want to be able to keep that contract aboard while not taking up a valuable roster spot. And if he's got a torn ACL, he's recovering from it, you can just put him on injured reserve. That's an injury stash for the season. Now, if he doesn't make the initial 53 before going on IR, he can't play. But if the 49ers are already set at the quarterback position, I think that is just fine with them. All right, so tomorrow, promise you, we're going to get up on those city walls. Maybe we'll even take the cable car up to the top of that hill. But just to finish this video, you guys see the nets right there? Those are water polo nets. Water polo is it might be the national sport here in Croatia. I know they love basketball. I know that Tony Kukoc, former Bulls player, was from Croatia, but I do know that they also love water polo. They got some big dudes in this country, and they have some of the most beautiful water in the world. We were just out on a boat, went out to a couple of these islands. This is the spot to finish, isn't it? City walls of Dubrovnik with the Adriatic Sea, all this beautiful water behind us. That is your 49ers ACL update here from Croatia. We're going to conquer the rest of this Game of Thrones location tomorrow.